Kami hadir sebagai solusi menciptakan generasi yang kreatif dan inovatif, yang mampu berkontribusi pada pemberdayaan dan pencerahan, menuntun generasi menuju masa depan, yang memiliki pengetahuan dan wawasan yang berbasis pada nilai-nilai Islam berkemajuan.
Health policies for a bright future. Health communication is us.
Professional Qurani for more productive, happier, and valuable life.
Health information technology, empowering healthier life.
Life engineering today, brighter Islam tomorrow.
Health architecture for more livable and hospitable building.
Serta mengedukasi masyarakat untuk memudahkan para mahasiswa dan calon mahasiswa mendapatkan pengalaman terbaik untuk datang dan belajar di Yogyakarta. Harapan itu selalu ada karena kami percaya adaptasi kebiasaan baru bukan tentang keterbatasan, tapi bagaimana cara kita menembus batas untuk menjadi lebih baik.
Kami hadir sebagai solusi menciptakan generasi yang kreatif dan inovatif, yang mampu berkontribusi pada pemberdayaan dan pencerahan, menuntun generasi menuju masa depan, yang memiliki pengetahuan dan wawasan yang berbasis pada nilai-nilai Islam berkemajuan.
Health policies for a bright future. Health communication is us.
Professional Qurani for more productive, happier, and valuable life.
Health information technology, empowering healthier life.
Life engineering today, brighter Islam tomorrow.
Health architecture for more livable and hospitable building.
Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta merupakan universitas berwawasan kesehatan, pilihan dan unggul berbasis nilai-nilai Islam berkemajuan yang berkomitmen mencerdaskan kehidupan bangsa. Di masa adaptasi kebiasaan baru saat ini, kami tetap berusaha melakukan pelayanan terbaik yang memprioritaskan pada keselamatan, kesehatan, dan kenyamanan kepada seluruh sivitas akademika dan stakeholder eksternal. Protokol kesehatan diterapkan di seluruh fasilitas kampus. Semua dilakukan dengan cara selalu menjaga kebersihan secara terus-menerus. Seluruh prosedur protokol kesehatan pencegahan COVID-19 dilakukan oleh seluruh staf kami agar proses pelayanan bisa dilakukan secara maksimal. Adaptasi kebiasaan baru berarti kita akan kembali ke rutinitas sehari-hari dengan paradigma baru. Karenanya, kami akan tetap menjaga ruang kerja dan ruang belajar kami menjadi tetap produktif agar kami bisa terus bersinergi dengan sesama rekan kerja dan mahasiswa. Protokol adaptasi kebiasaan baru UNISA Yogyakarta menempatkan fokus pada keselamatan dan kenyamanan bersama. Kami juga terus bergerak dan berkolaborasi dengan semua pihak terkait serta mengedukasi masyarakat untuk memudahkan para mahasiswa dan calon mahasiswa mendapatkan pengalaman terbaik untuk datang dan belajar di Yogyakarta. Harapan itu selalu ada karena kami percaya adaptasi kebiasaan baru bukan tentang keterbatasan, tapi bagaimana cara kita menembus batas untuk menjadi lebih baik.
Kami hadir sebagai solusi menciptakan generasi yang kreatif dan inovatif, yang mampu berkontribusi pada pemberdayaan dan pencerahan, menuntun generasi menuju masa depan, yang memiliki pengetahuan dan wawasan yang berbasis pada nilai-nilai Islam berkemajuan.
Health policies for a bright future. Health communication is us.
Professional Qurani for more productive, happier, and valuable life.
Health information technology, empowering healthier life.
Life engineering today, brighter Islam tomorrow.
Health architecture for more livable and hospitable building.
Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta merupakan universitas berwawasan kesehatan, pilihan dan unggul berbasis nilai-nilai Islam berkemajuan yang berkomitmen mencerdaskan kehidupan bangsa. Di masa adaptasi kebiasaan baru saat ini, kami tetap berusaha melakukan pelayanan terbaik yang memprioritaskan pada keselamatan, kesehatan, dan kenyamanan kepada seluruh sivitas akademika dan stakeholder eksternal. Protokol kesehatan diterapkan di seluruh fasilitas kampus. Semua dilakukan dengan cara selalu menjaga kebersihan secara terus-menerus. Seluruh prosedur protokol kesehatan pencegahan COVID-19 dilakukan oleh seluruh staf kami agar proses pelayanan bisa dilakukan secara maksimal. kebiasaan baru berarti kita akan kembali ke rutinitas sehari-hari dengan paradigma baru. Karenanya, kami akan tetap menjaga ruang kerja dan ruang belajar kami menjadi tetap produktif agar kami bisa terus bersinergi dengan sesama rekan kerja dan mahasiswa. Protokol adaptasi kebiasaan baru UNISA Yogyakarta menempatkan fokus pada keselamatan dan kenyamanan bersama. Kami juga terus bergerak dan berkolaborasi dengan semua pihak terkait serta mengedukasi masyarakat untuk memudahkan para mahasiswa dan calon mahasiswa mendapatkan pengalaman terbaik untuk datang dan belajar di Yogyakarta. Harapan itu selalu ada karena kami percaya adaptasi kebiasaan baru bukan tentang keterbatasan, tapi bagaimana cara kita menembus batas untuk menjadi lebih baik.
Kami hadir sebagai solusi menciptakan generasi yang kreatif dan inovatif, yang mampu berkontribusi pada pemberdayaan dan pencerahan, menuntun generasi menuju masa depan, yang memiliki pengetahuan dan wawasan yang berbasis pada nilai-nilai Islam berkemajuan.
Health policies for a bright future. Health communication is us.
Professional Qurani for more productive, happier, and valuable life.
Health information technology, empowering healthier life.
Life engineering today, brighter Islam tomorrow.
Health architecture for more livable and hospitable building.
Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta merupakan universitas berwawasan kesehatan, pilihan dan unggul berbasis nilai-nilai Islam berkemajuan yang berkomitmen mencerdaskan kehidupan bangsa. Di masa adaptasi kebiasaan baru saat ini, kami tetap berusaha melakukan pelayanan terbaik yang memprioritaskan pada keselamatan, kesehatan, dan kenyamanan kepada seluruh sivitas akademika dan stakeholder eksternal. Protokol kesehatan diterapkan di seluruh fasilitas kampus. Semua dilakukan dengan cara selalu menjaga kebersihan secara terus-menerus. Seluruh prosedur protokol kesehatan pencegahan COVID-19 dilakukan oleh seluruh staf kami agar proses pelayanan bisa dilakukan secara maksimal. Adaptasi kebiasaan baru berarti kita akan kembali ke rutinitas sehari-hari dengan paradigma baru. Karenanya, kami akan tetap menjaga ruang kerja dan ruang belajar kami menjadi tetap produktif agar kami bisa terus bersinergi dengan sesama rekan kerja dan mahasiswa. Protokol adaptasi kebiasaan baru UNISA Yogyakarta menempatkan fokus pada keselamatan dan kenyamanan bersama. Kami juga terus bergerak dan berkolaborasi dengan semua pihak terkait serta mengedukasi masyarakat untuk memudahkan para mahasiswa dan calon mahasiswa mendapatkan pengalaman terbaik untuk datang dan belajar di Yogyakarta. Harapan itu selalu ada karena kami percaya adaptasi kebiasaan baru bukan tentang keterbatasan, tapi bagaimana cara kita menembus batas untuk menjadi lebih baik.
Kami hadir sebagai solusi menciptakan generasi yang kreatif dan inovatif, yang mampu berkontribusi pada pemberdayaan dan pencerahan, menuntun generasi menuju masa depan, yang memiliki pengetahuan dan wawasan yang berbasis pada nilai-nilai Islam berkemajuan.
Health policies for a bright future. Health communication is us.
Professional Qurani for more productive, happier, and valuable life.
Health information technology, empowering healthier life.
Life engineering today, brighter Islam tomorrow.
Health architecture for more livable and hospitable building.
Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta merupakan universitas berwawasan kesehatan, pilihan dan unggul berbasis nilai-nilai Islam berkemajuan yang berkomitmen mencerdaskan kehidupan bangsa. Di masa adaptasi kebiasaan baru saat ini, kami tetap berusaha melakukan pelayanan terbaik yang memprioritaskan pada keselamatan.
Our webinar will be start in a few minutes. Please prepare yourself. To all participants, please mute the microphone. We will start the webinar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. His Excellency, the Dean of the Faculty of Health Science, Aisyah University of Yogyakarta, Mr. Muhammad Ali Imron, Magister Physiology, Her Excellency, the Dean of the Faculty of Health Science, University Sultan Zainal Abidin, Malaysia, Professor Dr. Sakinah binti Harith, Honorable, the Head of Radiology Study Program, Aisyah University of Yogyakarta, Mrs. Asih Puji Utami, Magister Kesehatan, Honorable, the Head of Diploma in Radiography, University Sultan Zainal Abidin, Malaysia, Mr. Dr. Kamarul Amin Abdullah, Honorable International Webinar Speakers, Mr. Muhammad Abdul Al-Nasir Ibrahim Abu Arah, Master of Science, Miss Alvita Rohmapul Aini, Master of Science, Dr. Sufyan bin Muhammad Tajuddin, and respectable all guests and participants in this webinar. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Good morning everyone, whoever you are. Best wishes for all of us and welcome to the international webinar hosted by the Radiology Study Program ICA University Yogyakarta in collaboration with University Sultan Zainal Abidin Malaysia. The opening ceremony for the international webinar with the theme Optimization of Radiological Imaging Modalities to Establish Better Diagnosis, Saturday, 2020 is going to begin. Firstly, let's thank the Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala who has given us some mercies and blessings so that we can attend this webinar without any troubles. And secondly, salawat and salam may always be given to our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam who has guided us from the darkness to the lightness. We would like to thank everyone here for taking the time to attend our remarkable webinar. And for your information, this international webinar will be conducted in English. I am Ratnawati, who will accompany you to our great speaker and moderator as the master of the ceremony during this event. The theme of this event will discuss the optimization of radiological imaging modalities to establish better diagnosis. This will bring together radiology experts from across the world to share their knowledge. Before start our webinar, allow me to read today's agenda. First, opening and presence. 2. Al-Quran reciting. 3. Sing the national anthem of Indonesia and the national anthem of Malaysia. 4th, opening speech from the head of the Radiology Study Program ICA University of Yogyakarta and the head of Radiology Study Program University Sultan Zainal Abidin Malaysia. 5. Main session from all the speakers. 6. Discussion, and the last, closing. Ladies and gentlemen, to start our activity today, let's start with Basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. To all participants, for your information, we will share the link for the presents. So please fill the link that we already shared. Kepada semua peserta, kami informasikan bahwa kami akan membagikan link untuk presensi. Mohon izin untuk peserta bisa mengisi link yang akan kami bagikan. And next, we are going to listen the Al-Quran reciting of Surah Ali Imran.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasy syaithanir rajim. ومن يغفر الذنوب إلا الله ولم يصروا على ما فعلوا وهم يعلمون صدق Allahul Azim. Aku berlindung kepada Allah dari godaan syaitan yang terkutuk dengan menyebut nama Allah yang Maha Pengasih lagi Maha Penyayang. Dan bersegeralah kamu mencari ampunan dari Tuhanmu dan mendapatkan syurga yang luas seluas langit dan bumi yang disediakan bagi orang-orang yang bertakwa, yaitu orang-orang yang berinfak baik di waktu lapang maupun sempit, dan orang-orang yang menahan amarahnya dan memaafkan kesalahan orang lain. Dan Allah mencintai orang yang berbuat kebaikan. Dan juga orang-orang yang apabila mengerjakan perbuatan keji atau menzalimi diri sendiri segera mengingat Allah, lalu memohon ampunan atas dosa-dosanya. Dan siapa lagi yang dapat mengampuni dosa selain Allah? Dan mereka tidak meneruskan perbuatan dosa itu, sedangkan mereka mengetahui. Maha benar Allah yang Maha Agung dengan segala firman-Nya. Wassalamualaikum.
Next, we will sing the song of the national anthem of Indonesia, Indonesia Raya, and will be continue to sing the national anthem of Malaysia, Negaraku. Then we are going to listen to the opening speech delivered by the Dean of Faculty of Health Science, Aisyah University of Yogyakarta, Mr. Muhammad Ali Imron, Magister Physiology. Mr. Imron, the time is yours.
Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahilladzi ja'alal ilma taharatan linnufus wa nuran lil basair wa hadiyatan fil jannah. Nahmaduhu wa nasta'inu wa nastaghfiruh wa na'udzu billahi min syururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina may yahdihillahu fala mudhillalah wa la yudhlil fala hadiyalah. Allahumma sholli wa sallim wa barik ala Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Yang terhormat Ketua Program Studi Radiologi University Zainal Abidin Malaysia, Dr. Kamarul Abdullah. Yang saya hormati para undangan, Ketua Umum Persatuan Radiografer Republik Indonesia, Ketua Pengurus Daerah Pari, dan all participant at the international seminar yang berbahagia. Atas nama Dekan Fakultas Ilmu Kesehatan Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta, saya menyambut baik, mendukung dengan sepenuh hati atas kegiatan kita pada pagi hari ini, karena seminar kita kali ini adalah kerjasama yang baik antara Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta, khususnya Fakultas Ilmu Kesehatan, dengan University Zainal Abidin Malaysia, yang sudah kita tanda tangani beberapa tahun yang lalu, dan alhamdulillah kita bisa mengisinya dengan berbagai event, kegiatan yang sangat bermanfaat. Bapak Ibu, para partisipan seminar pada pagi hari ini, kita memahami betul perkembangan keilmuan dan teknologi radiologi berkembang demikian pesat, seirama dengan kebutuhan masyarakat akan layanan kesehatan yang optimal. Kita sekarang mengenal radiologi tidak hanya pada perangkat-perangkat keras seperti tulang, tetapi juga sampai ke cellular imaging barangkali, sehingga apa yang dikerjakan, apa yang menjadi kompetensi teman-teman radiologi akan berkontribusi pada proses ketepatan diagnosis, dan ketepatan diagnosis itu akan menuntun seorang profesional kesehatan bagaimana memanage problem kesehatan yang dihadapi oleh pasiennya. Akhir-akhir ini dalam situasi pandemi, kita melihat bahwa peran teman-teman radiologi di garda terdepan dalam menangani masyarakat yang terpapar COVID-19 sangat luar biasa. Oleh karena itu, pengembangan keilmuan melalui seminar ini adalah satu langkah yang baik, langkah yang patut kita dukung, karena akan menyebarluaskan informasi untuk menambah kompetensi teman-teman radiografer, baik itu di Indonesia maupun di Malaysia. Kami di Indonesia berbahagia hati karena kejadian COVID-19 di Malaysia sangat terkontrol dengan baik, jumlah masyarakat yang terdampak tidak terlalu banyak, dan saya kira itu adalah prestasi negara Malaysia yang membanggakan. Dan kita di Indonesia, university bersama dengan government, bahu-membahu bagaimana kita bisa mengatasi penyebaran virus COVID-19 ini. Melalui penggalian ilmu, melalui seminar-seminar internasional, kita harapkan kita punya rule baru, khususnya dari teman-teman radiologi dalam rangka ikut mengatasi pandemi COVID-19 di Indonesia. Kita berharap mudah-mudahan pandemi ini segera berakhir sehingga kerjasama antara UNISA dan UNIZA, ini kita hampir sama ini, UNISA dan UNIZA ini bisa terus kita tingkatkan, dan kami Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta mengucapkan banyak terima kasih atas kemitraan yang luar biasa dari University Zainal Abidin. Mudah-mudahan ke depan kita bisa tingkatkan pada aktivitas-aktivitas yang lebih luas, joint research, student exchange, lecturer exchange, dan lain sebagainya. Demikian saya kira secara resmi dengan mengucapkan Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, seminar internasional pada pagi hari ini kita buka. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Mr. Imran, for the opening speech. And next, we are going to listen to the opening speech from the Dean of the Diploma in Radiography, University Sultan Zainal Abidin, Malaysia, Mr. Kamarul Amin Abdullah. Mr. Kamarul, the time is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Firstly, thank you to the organizer, Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta, Indonesia, especially to the Dean of Faculty of Health Sciences, Mr. Muhammad Ali Imran, and also Head of the Department of Radiology, Madam Asih Puji Utami, for inviting us to collaborate in this privileged international radiology webinar. For your information, here in UNIZA, any collaboration with other universities is highly encouraged. And this is actually important to strengthen our international linkage, especially around the globe. Indonesia is actually a very close partner to our university. And in fact, we have many MOUs and MOAs with many universities from Indonesia. So I hope through this program, it will open up more opportunities to collaborate in the future activities. We understand that during this pandemic COVID-19, many mobility programs and international activities have been cancelled.
Dr. Kamarul, I think the network is interrupted.
Please wait a second. I think there is a trouble with the signal. Please, Mr. Kamaru, you can continue from the speech. Sorry, Mr. Kamaru. Please unmute your microphone. Oh, okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so finally, I hope this international radiology webinar will run smoothly till the end. And I believe all the speakers that being invited are all experts in their fields. And I hope that the information shared will be benefits to all of the participants. And I think that's all from me. With that, I say thank you very much. And again, thank you, Unisa, especially to the radiology department for inviting us. And lastly, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Dr. Kamarul.
For the internet technical.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Kamaru, for the opening speech. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, to start, we will continue from the next sessions. As we have finished our opening to the next sessions, I would like to invite Ms. Sophie Nurnalita Dewi Sarjana Terapan Kesehatan to moderate the webinar today. And let's start with the main sessions by moderator and speakers. Ms. Sophie, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ratno. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to say thank you for all of the speakers and participants for joining this webinar. And firstly, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Sophie Nurnalita Dewi, who is responsible as the moderator during this event. And as the representative of the organizer, I would like to say that we are glad to have all of you together with us today, and you look so interested to learn together with us. Even though we cannot meet in the same room, but we also believe that in this pandemic situation, there's still a lot of way for us to learn. And so we could say that this pandemic won't stop us from learning. And this webinar is one of the ways for us to learn together. And now, without any further ado, I will introduce the speakers that will deliver their lecture today. There will be 3 speakers who deliver their lecture, and the main theme of the lecture is optimization of radiological imaging modalities to establish better diagnosis. And the speakers are, the first speaker is Mr. Muhammad Abdul Al-Nasir Ibrahim Abu Arah, Master of Science, and the second speaker will be Mr. Dr. Sufyan bin Muhammad Tajuddin, and the last speaker will be Ms. Alvita Rohmaful Aini, Master of Science. And without any further ado, I will introduce the first speaker of this webinar, Mr. Muhammad Abu Arah, Master of Science. Mr. Muhammad Abu Arah is the lecturer of Arab America University in Palestine. And currently, he is also a PhD student of doctoral degree of interventional radiology imaging in Gajah Mada University. He will present his lecture about interventional radiology, present and future.
Mr. Muhammad, good morning.
Yes.
Can you hear our voice clearly?
Yes, I hear you. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Okay, we will start to share the screen of Mr. Muhammad.
Halo? Assalamualaikum. Apa itu? Halo?
Ya,
Ya.
kami memohon maaf karena terdapat kendala jaringan yang baru saja terjadi di gedung kampus kami, sehingga kami akan melanjutkan webinarnya saat ini. Mr. Muhammad, can you hear my voice clearly?
Yes.
Please wait for a second and we're gonna start to share your screen.
Okay.
Okay.
Halo?
Please wait for a second, Mr. Muhammad. We are
Okay.
trying to share your screen right now.
Okay, okay.
When the share is screen, we're trying right now. Okay, Mr. Muhammad, you can start your lecture right now. The time is yours.
Okay. Let's start. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks for all. Terima kasih untuk Unisa. Thanks for Unisa. Thanks for all of people that work there. My name is Muhammad. I am PhD student of radiology. I am from Palestine, dari Palestina. Okay, we will start. My lecture today, it's about the interventional radiology. The interventional radiology with a topic with interventional radiology present and future. Okay, we will start with the contents. Please, next slide. If we look for the contents, we can say there's 5 contents. The first content is talk about the advances in diagnostic and interventional radiology. The second content is talk about the advances and emerging technologies in interventional radiology, and we will talk about the future of interventional radiology, emerging techniques, and the future trends of interventional radiology, and what we will expect from interventional radiology, and the next decade of the interventional radiology innovations. Next. We will talk about the advances in diagnostic and interventional radiology. As we know, in the recent years, in fact, the technological innovations together with the clinical research have led to the development of a new imaging application in the clinical practice. These innovations have involved the purely diagnostic aspect of the imaging thanks to the implementation of the new protocols and advanced sequences, but also have given a significant boost for the ever-increasing use of interventional radiology procedure for the treatment various diseases in different fields. Interventional radiology nowadays gained application for the treatment of many diseases, such as degenerative disease, traumatic disease, tumor disease in several fields. Far away from the diagnostic aims, the imaging plays an important role in the monitoring therapeutic method, in particular setting where a novel or advanced therapy are administered. Next. Advances and emerging technologies in interventional radiology. If we will define the interventional radiology, it is a specialized field of radiology for interrupting image while we performing a minimal invasive surgery. This is minimal invasive surgery. We can do it by using a catheter. This catheter can enter from different region of the body, and while using this catheter, we will use a wire to reach the target region inside the body. And we call it minimal invasive surgery because it's different from the traditional surgery. As the minimal invasive procedure are, we call it invasive procedure. The advantage of this procedure is less expensive than traditional surgery, less painful, and low risk than traditional surgery. Interventional radiology is gaining a lot of importance these days. Interventional radiology advances are primarily directed toward improvement patient safety, more patient safety than traditional surgery, better precision and accuracy, causing minimum to no trauma to the patient undergoing minimal invasive radiology, minimal invasive surgery. Moreover, we can add development of digital technologies such as artificial intelligence, virtual reality, can make better visualization of patient anatomy during the interventional radiology procedure. We will talk about it later. Next. The future of interventional radiology, the emerging techniques. Since the early years of the pioneers, the interventional radiology has regularly changed its mind, with new therapeutic concepts and innovative techniques emerging and gaining attention of scientific community through a wide range of applications. Innovation has been the cornerstone of the progress of subspecialty. The newest technique concern either the unexplored field of the application cutting-edge technologies involving the embolization therapy, interventional oncology, and vascular intervention. The embolization therapy, it's a technique we use some of particles to block the blood supply or to cut the blood supply for certain region inside the body. In addition, the advancement in existing procedure and techniques, interventional radiologists developing new procedures to address conditions such as arthritis, obesity, and benign prostatic hypertrophy. Next. The first emerging techniques we will talk about it is the embolization, the application of the embolization in transarterial treatment of the hemorrhoidal disease. This is embolization, as I said before, the embolization is the cutting the blood supply for the certain area in the body. This is embolization done through the superior rectal artery, SRA, the shortcut of it. It's certainly one of the new concepts that have gained major attention over the last 2-3 years ago. Employed technique, it was inspired by the previous experiences in urgent cases of massive bleeding when embolization was used as alternative treatment to surgery. Early result of endovascular therapy demonstrated a significant regression of hemorrhoidal bundles, absent of ischemic risk, and normal sphincteric function recovered after 1 month. The main target of this technique would be, of course, reducing the morbidity, especially the hospitalization and recovery times. We will look for the next figure, the next image. We can see the internal and, please, next slide. Hello?
Mr. Muhammad, please wait for a second.
Yeah, okay.
Now, currently, we are trying to stabilize our connection. Okay. And when it's already done, we will share your screen again.
Okay.
Please wait for a second.
Next slide, please. Okay, in this image we see internal hemorrhoid and external hemorrhoid. The internal hemorrhoid has a bleeding. As I said before, the embolization is the cutting blood supply for this hemorrhoid. We use the embolization by using a catheter, reach the internal hemorrhoid and cutting the blood supply for this hemorrhoid to make it shrinking. Next slide, we will see the angiogram of this hemorrhoid. Next slide, please. Okay, the first figure at the left side, we can see the angiogram of the inferior mesenteric artery showing the right and left posterior trunk supplying the corpus cavensum rectally, CCR. This is before the embolization. After we make up embolization, we have a final control angiogram. This branch showing a contrast stasis and no remaining branch below the pubic bone. This is the difference of two images. Next slide, please. The second application or the second emerging technique, we use it for the obese patient. Call it the bariatric embolization. This is bariatric embolization, this technique or emerging technique, we use it to lose the weight of the obese patient by embolization of gastrointestinal tract. The treatment involved the suppression cells located in the fundus of the stomach by selective injection particles through the left gastric artery. As I can say, the excess body weight loss is different from 9% until 17% until 6 months, with average body weight loss around 9 kilograms. For this procedure or for this emerging technique, we can say there is no major complication were registered, while minor events such as superficial complications such as ulcer of the mucosa at the target zone were registered. In the future, this minimally invasive procedure could be combined with the other therapeutic resources in the management of severe or morbidity obese patient. Next slide, we can see the image of this emerging technique. As we see in this image, there is a catheter inserted via femoral artery to the celiac artery until we reach the gastric artery. The catheter reached the gastric artery and we injected a embolization particle to plug the blood supply for the fundus. When the veins of the fundus are plugged, the production of the Ghrelin, a hormone that make you hungry, that make the obese patient hungry, is stopped. That make shrinking in the or feel the patient do not feel to he or she is hungry. Next slide, please. Hello.
Yeah, Mr. Muhammad. We will share your screen right now. Please wait for a second. Because there are troubles around the campus, so we are trying to stabilize, but there's a little connection right here and right there. Please wait for a second and we will share your screen right now. Okay, Mr. Muhammad, you may continue your speech.
Okay. In this image, we can see or we can talk about the third emerging techniques. We call it transarterial treatment of resistant painful musculoskeletal conditions such as frozen shoulder. The target of this therapy is the inflammatory angiogenesis that can contribute to chronic pain by enabling growth of new sensory nerves along their path. The embolization is performed with some types of pharmacological agent. As we see in the left image, A figure, the selective catheterization of thoracoacromial artery from the left subclavian. This is the first angiogram, the first catheterization image. The second image, we can see the control of superselective injection of 1.5 gram of embolization particle. Early result of this new therapeutic concept seem promising. The condition, this condition more commonly in the people with diabetes and people who have kept their arm embolized for long period of time. Symptoms may start within 1 or 2 years. This is about this image. Next slide, please. Okay, the future trend and technologies in interventional radiology. What we will expect from the interventional radiology. The interventional radiology has grown rapidly in the recent years. As we see, in 1970, the first embolization procedure was performed. After that, 3 years later, the balloon angioplasty were being performed. That means in 1973. Then, in 1980s, complex intervention such as transjugular intrahepatic protosystematic shunt placement were introduced. All or most of these therapies are now offered mostly in all of hospital. Next slide, please. As the technology advances, as we have more advanced technology, the interventional radiology will be more advances. Some of the advances technology, we can or we will use it in the interventional radiology. Please back to slide 14. Next slide. Okay, some of these technologies, the augmented reality, artificial intelligence, robotics, and some modern imaging modalities. By using these techniques or these technologies, we can develop the interventional radiology. We start firstly with augmented reality. From the analysis of recent literature, it seems that the augmented reality will be a primary future trend for the artificial intelligence in interventional radiology. Augmented reality, virtual image, it's a virtual image, can be seen alongside the real image. We have a real image upside or up above this real image, we can add a virtual image. In contrast to virtual reality, as we know, the virtual reality is different from the augmented reality, because the virtual reality, where the field of the vision include no real images. Augmented reality offers the ability of maneuver object and interact with the real world. This powerful development has wide-ranging applications for image guide intervention. We can
Mohon untuk ditunggu beberapa menit karena Bapak Muhammad sedang mengalami gangguan dalam jaringannya. Sebentar lagi akan bergabung kembali dengan kami. Mr. Muhammad, can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Okay. Please continue your lecture.
Okay. This technique, augmented reality, we can use it as teaching instrument for young radiologists to improve the interventional procedure for this young radiologist and more practice for accurate replacement guidance for thermal flash. Its future fields of application will be nearly infinitive. In the next slide, we can see an example of application for augmented reality. As we see in this image, we can see the vital signs of the patient by using the augmented reality. For example, we can say the interventional radiologist could visualize the vital sign within the same field of vision of the patient, overlying the patient during critical intervention. These numbers could be very important, appear to interventional radiologist when performing key step a procedure or when radiologist has a concern. After we looked for this slide, we can go to the next slide, please. The next advanced technique, maybe we can use it in the interventional radiology, the artificial intelligence. For who don't know about the artificial intelligence, we can define it as some of algorithms and statistical models can perform some of tasks or a lot of tasks without explicit instructions. Artificial intelligence, also we can define it as computer science that creating algorithm, and this algorithm can solve many problems without programmed. The artificial intelligence can be utilized in the interventional radiology. Outcomes of the interventional can be more accurate and quick predicted and improving the patient outcomes. Next slide, please. As we see in the figure in the below, the artificial intelligence consists of many concepts. These concepts, or the artificial intelligence, include the machine learning, deep learning, and neural network. For the artificial intelligence, for another scientific concern, it's contain machine learning, deep learning, and neural network. But for the radiology, it's more focus about the deep learning and neural network. The artificial intelligence involves the computer able to perform tasks that have always required a human intelligence. In other words, we can say it is the ability of computer to think and learn. And we can define the machine learning. It's include all of approach that allow computer to learn from data without being programmed, and has already been applied for the medical imaging procedures. Next slide, please. The important thing we should know about the artificial intelligence will enhance the image guidance through anatomical recognition to facilitate the intervention and guide the operator through complex anatomy. Lastly, promising application exists in the treatment of patients requiring time-sensitive intervention. Conditions such as stroke or pulmonary embolism have been described to benefit from artificial intelligence impact on expediting recognition and throughput to improve patient outcomes. Next, please. Here we can say, or we can discuss about the difference between the artificial intelligence and the using the interventional radiology without artificial intelligence. Without artificial intelligence, the assessment and the procedure and the decision will be based on the radiologist experience. That means the young radiologist will have different decision than a radiologist have a lot of experience. While if we use the artificial intelligence in the interventional radiology, the artificial intelligence excellent at recognize complex patterns in imaging data and can provide quantitative assessment in automated fashion. The major field of the radiology supported from the artificial intelligence is MRI and neuroradiology. The third techniques we can use it in the interventional radiology, it's robot. What is the robot? According to the American Institute of Robotics, the robot is a programmed multifunctional manipulator designed to move materials, parts, tools, or other specialized devices through various programmed motions for the performance of some of tasks. Robotics is another area with the future potential in image guide intervention, which has already been integrated into many field medicine. Oftentimes, in order for robotic systems, there must be proven a clinical benefits. We cannot use the robotics without we approve there is a high clinical benefits. We can, as we know, that robotics applied to many endovascular procedures, such as uterine artery embolization, UAE, cardiac ablation, and aneurysm repair. Next slide, please. And have all been successfully performed with robotic systems. In this slide, we can see, as I said, the robotic have applied to many endovascular procedures and successful procedures, such as uterine artery embolization, cardiac ablation, and aneurysm repair. Next slide, please. Next one. Can we see the slide number 26? As we see in this image, the interventional radiologist work in separate area far away from the room of the operations, from the room of the interventional radiology. This area for the radiologist will be safe area, and it will be more safe without any hazard from the radiation exposure, and without need to wear a heavy shielding. But for the robotics, and we can see in this image, the radiologist, the doctor can control the catheter or control the machine by using 2 joysticks. But these robotics have some of limitations, such as, since the anatomy recognized upon the coordinates should high accurate calibration, the patient should be, the machine should high calibration before start the procedure. And some of the limitations is correlated to the breathing and patient movements, and other limitations is related to the should be this robotic worthy of care comprehend of the lag force feedback, especially in the robotic system, should have a strong feedback. The next decade of the interventional radiologists. Philips is developing some of devices using technology called fiber optic real shape force, which leads to visualize wires and catheters in 3D using light instead of X-ray. That means it will be safe environment without using X-ray, just by using light. This was presented to the world through the first in human cases shown in 2019. Philips also worked to have a new technology called dielectric imaging, which lets us to visualize not just the device, but the anatomy in high definition and 3D without using X-ray. Next, please. For the interventional radiology, we can say the future is bright as the value of proposition of interventional radiology offering minimal invasive, high quality, low complication, cost-effective therapies with the future of medicine and healthcare. Finally, from the analysis of recent literature, it seems logically that the augmented reality will be the primary future trend for artificial intelligence in radiology. After this summary, we will see two videos about the next decade of the interventional radiology. You can show the video, please.
Yes, we will show the video for. Okay, we will start the video for a second. Please wait for a second.
This is the next decade of the from Philips. It's called Force. Fiber optic real shape with using light without any X-ray. That means it will be safe environment for working. As we can see in the image in the video, the interventional radiologist can see the catheter arrive where in which part of the body. The second video, please.
Of Philips, one patient every single second somewhere on Earth is treated with one of our products. So that's 28 million patients a year could be treated because of the work that we do here. That was the big reason I came to Philips. Image-guided therapy is modern-day surgery without the incision. We're navigating tiny instruments through the body through incisions no larger than a pencil point. We're relying solely on X-ray images or medical imagery to guide us. So that means we are always looking at a screen of data.
With HoloLens, we can take it to the next level. We are a leader in image-guided therapy. And with Azurion, we created an industry-leading platform that customers really love. What's really cool about it is we've leveraged novel touchscreen technology to create a very powerful working spot for the physician. Our ultimate goal is to help doctors do procedures better, to help them innovate the procedure. With HoloLens, we can create a completely different experience, a working domain which is really tailored around the needs of the physician.
For complex procedures, physicians need to go from one screen to the other really rapidly. We can now get these screens to come in just by voice recognition, by eye tracking. This is all about efficiency. If patients are being treated and the procedure can be shortened, it's very beneficial for the patient.
At Philips, we strongly believe that technology is not the goal, technology should be the enabler. What we want is that the physician can just concentrate on the procedure and the patient, get them home faster and healthier. This partnership between Philips and Microsoft can have our users experience something completely new, something almost mind-blowing, something that they didn't think was possible, and help them improve care. That's a breakthrough. That's a complete game changer.
Okay, Mr. Muhammad, is there any material gain or it is enough?
Just it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Muhammad, for your amazing lecture. And now, the participant, if you has any question for Mr. Muhammad, you can type your question in the chat room, in the Zoom, or in the YouTube. Untuk peserta yang memiliki pertanyaan yang ditujukan kepada Bapak Muhammad, bisa menuliskannya di kolom chat yang tersedia di Zoom maupun YouTube. Nanti untuk pertanyaannya akan kami bahas di sesi diskusi. Untuk pertanyaannya bisa menggunakan bahasa Inggris maupun dengan menggunakan bahasa Indonesia. Sebelum beralih ke pembicara berikutnya, saya akan menyampaikan beberapa review dari materi yang sudah disampaikan oleh Bapak Muhammad. Jadi dari materi yang sudah disampaikan oleh Bapak Muhammad, kita bisa mengetahui bahwa teknologi yang advance dan terkini dari pemeriksaan radiologi intervensional akan sangat berfungsi nantinya di masa depan. Terdapat banyak sekali teknologi yang kini saat berkembang. Salah satu vendor yang disebutkan oleh Bapak Muhammad yang sedang mengembangkan teknologi dalam interventional radiologi, salah satunya adalah Philips. Jadi keunggulannya dari teknologi yang advance dan terbaru sendiri dapat meminimalkan tindakan invasif, selain itu dapat mengurangi biaya, serta mengurangi rasa sakit dan mengurangi risiko yang akan terjadi pada pasien. Salah satu teknologi yang sedang berkembang saat ini, salah satunya yaitu augmented reality atau AR, kemudian ada artificial intelligence atau kecerdasan buatan atau AI, selain itu ada teknologi robotik yang bisa digunakan di interventional radiology. Untuk pemeriksaannya sendiri yang bisa digunakan antara lain yaitu terapi embolisasi, serta ada vaskular intervensi. Tadi yang sudah disampaikan oleh Pak Muhammad, salah satu yang tidak kita duga ternyata penyakit wasir saja sekarang sudah ada pemeriksaan intervensionalnya. Selain itu, dengan menggunakan AR maupun AI dan robotik, kita juga bisa menggunakan pemeriksaan intervensional yang saat ini masih kita anggap berbahaya, memiliki radiasi yang cukup besar dan juga sangat invasif. Dengan penggunaan teknologi ini kita bisa meminimalkan risiko-risiko tersebut. Oke, untuk para peserta bisa meninggalkan pertanyaan di kolom chat selagi kita akan menuju ke pembicara berikutnya. Okay, and now we will move on to the next speaker. And the next speaker is Mr. Sufyan bin Muhammad Tajuddin. Mr. Sufyan is currently a lecturer in University Sultan Zainal Abidin of Malaysia. He is graduated from the Graduate University for Advanced Studies in 2015 as a Doctor of Philosophy. Now, Mr. Sofyan would like to give his lecture about application of Monte Carlo method in radiology. Good morning, Mr. Sofyan.
Hi,
Can you hear
morning.
my voice clearly?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You can start to share your screen right now, Mr. Sofyan.
Oh, sorry. Okay, share screen.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Sofyan.
Hi, good morning. Okay.
Okay,
So I can start now?
yeah, you might start your lecture now. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam or Miss Chairperson. So at first, I would like to say many thanks to UNISA for invite me to deliver or share my knowledge today, and especially through Ibu Vidya. I suppose she is a person in charge for this webinar. So I hope from my presentation today, our participant could learn or earn something. Okay, because for I myself still in the learning process, but as you know, my field of study is in medical physics. Okay, my background. So in last week, I asked permission from Ibu Vidya to say something about Monte Carlo simulation. Okay, so probably I could bring a different perspective for today's presentations to suit with my background field of study. Okay. So I remember actually I already come to UNISA in last year around September or October 2019 with our Dean of Faculty of Health Sciences UNISA, Professor Dr. Sakina, and our head of department, Dr. Kamarul, and Prawn Noor Azimah, our radiographer instructor here. Okay. So right now I already share my slide. Is it true?
You might share your screen right now.
Can you see my slide? No.
It's not yet.
Oh, okay. So how can I share? Share screen. Oh, I already share my slide. Not yet, yeah. Mati. So, sorry, how to share my slide?
You can click the share screen.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Sorry, yeah. Okay.
Okay, we already see your screen right now.
So actually, I'm getting worried about internet connection, as in previous Dr. Kamarul suddenly disappear, right? Because we are in the same building. Hopefully, my presentation is okay. All right. So as described earlier by Chairperson, so I'm Sufyan. I'm a lecturer for School of Medical Imaging. I'm from Faculty of Health Sciences, UNISA, University Sultan Zainal Abidin, Malaysia. Okay. So just have a quick look. So this is a web page of UNISA. Okay. You can Google www.unisa.edu.my, and you can reach to our university website. On your right, you can see a map of Peninsula of Malaysia. Okay, so UNISA situated in Terengganu, somewhere here. Okay, probably I suppose our participant knows Kuala Lumpur, right, in Malaysia. So Terengganu, maybe, I don't know, have you heard before the name of Terengganu? So we are here, the opposite side of Kuala Lumpur. Okay, so you can. So this is Indonesia, right? I think Aceh or Banda Aceh somewhere here, or Medan, okay? Because many Malaysian come to here. Okay, so when you arrive to Kuala Lumpur, you can take flight or by bus. Okay, because we have no train to go Terengganu. Okay, in Malaysia, Terengganu is the only place that have no train. Okay, so this is the website of our Faculty of Health Sciences in UNIZA. Okay, under this faculty, Faculty of Health Sciences or FSK, Fakulti Sains Kesihatan, you can see we offer a degree program called medical imaging. So this one is equivalent to, I remember, we call S1, right, in Indonesia. And also we have a diploma program, radiography, which is D3, I suppose D3, right, for 3 years program. Okay. So actually, for radiography program, we already started since 2006. Okay, but for degree program or S1 for medical imaging, we started in 2016, and this year 2020 will be our first batch to graduate. But unfortunately, because of COVID situation, there is no graduation, convocation ceremony. Okay. All right. So hopefully, some of you have heard about Monte Carlo, or at least have seen this kind of work. Okay. So Monte Carlo is a calculation using random numbers. Okay, random numbers. You can imagine as you play a coin. Okay, during our children time, we play a coin either head or tail. It's a 50-50% chance, right? So the same things in Monte Carlo method, okay, using a random number to sample a probability distribution. Okay. And also you need to know Monte Carlo use a programming subroutines and interaction probabilities to calculate any output that we want, such as dose or any quantity of interest. And Monte Carlo simulation doesn't replace experimental measurement, okay, but offers a unique understanding of radiation physics phenomena. Okay. And recently, Monte Carlo technique have become popular in many areas of medical physics. Okay. So here are the listed available Monte Carlo codes, which are the established and popular ones, okay, such as MC, NP, okay, developer of LANL, Los Alamos National Laboratory in United States, Jiang4, developer CERN in German, Fluka, also the same developer, EJS5, developed in KEK in Japan, and in collaboration with SLAC, Stanford Linear Accelerator, Super MC FDS team in China, okay, and FITS developed by JAEA, Japan Atomic Energy Agency, and also KEK. KEK is in English we call it High Energy Accelerator Research Organization. Okay. So mainly, as you can see here, the developer of Monte Carlo codes are the place where have a nuclear or accelerator. Okay, because the purpose of the earlier purpose of Monte Carlo codes to calculate shielding for that accelerator, okay, for higher energy source. And nowadays they already improved their codes to calculate for low photon energy. Okay, and this is the language, Fortran language. This is a computer language. Okay, either Fortran, C++. Oh, okay. So you can see another. There are only two types of computer language they use. All right. So so EGS5 is electron gamma shower. So I learned EGS5 during my study at KEK. So throughout this today's presentation, I will use mainly explain EGS5 code and show several examples for calculation, okay, relevant to radiation shielding or dosimetry. Okay. At first, so according to the Institute of Physics and Engineering in Medicine, IPEM UK, the design of radiation shielding should also take into the best simulation code to evaluate the shielding adequacy. Okay, so what I listed here is among the well established code. Okay, of course, we have many more others Monte Carlo codes that are not listed here, such as Phenolog. Okay, but as you can see here, Super MC, if FDS team in China is how to say strictly or very controlled. Okay, we cannot learn simply learn this code because for safety reason, for nuclear safety. IPEM, as a medical physicist, I suppose we should know this organization. Okay? IPEM is the, how to say, yes, UK's United Kingdom professional body and then society for physicists, engineer and technologies within the field of medicine. So many of time we refer to IPEM. Example application of Monte Carlo codes for dose calculation, radiation detector design, for calculation of radiation shielding, radiography and medical physics, nuclear critically safety, accelerator target design, fission and fusion reactor, and decontamination and decommissioning reactor. So I believe the first four is probably the most related to us. Okay. For myself, I heavily use Monte Carlo for dose calculation, detector design, and also radiation shielding. Right. Sorry. So again, electron gamma shower version 5, EGS5. So this code is an open source. Okay. So anyone can obtain this code, which is written in Fortran language, as I mentioned earlier. So we don't need a license. Okay. I also use another code such as a FITS code, but they do request we need to obtain a license because they really control that simulation code. But for EGS5 code is possible. For example, in UNISA can learn this code because EGS5 I learned EGS5 code from at KEK. From the developer directly. Okay. So we obtain a privilege to use this code freely, and I can deliver this code also. Okay. So GS5 was developed by Namito et al. So Yoshihito Namito is actually my previous supervisor okay, at High Energy Accelerator Research or KEK, Coenergy Kasakuki Kenkyuki in Japan. So this code can be run on Linux PC or Windows PC, okay, and also possible to transport radiation such as photon, electron, and positron in electromagnetic field. Okay, so for photon is such as gamma rays or X-ray, okay, electrons. I suppose mainly for our friend who in radiotherapy. Field on positron, right? In nuclear medicine department. Okay. For example, positron emission tomography is a powerful imaging technique to how to say, to examine in vivo for brain function, or to examine metabolic function and their disorder, or to measure the rate of chemical reaction in human bodies. So everyone can use this code. Okay. So this is how to say, EGS5 code. Can this one go away? No. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, so EGS5 code is written in Fortran language, and within this code, we need to open the program language by using text editor. Okay, we cannot write the code in Microsoft Word, for example. Okay, the text editor can be any text editor. Either, for example, here I use Emacs text editor, or also Notepad. Notepad++ is also a good text editor. So we can change the energy of radiation here, for example, the position, and here also we input what kind of output we want. Okay, EGS5 to calculate, and then we use another software, CGView, for geometry modeling. Okay, so this is just a basic understanding. So just these two things must have in our PC lah. Okay. So the fact that we cannot see or feel radiation make it difficult to understand their behavior. So the use of radiation trajectories shown on a personal computer, our laptop, will be useful to overcome this difficulty. So the use of PC will be interesting for students, I suppose. And the study of radiation trajectories will become really effective way to understand radiation behavior inside materials, in any materials actually, either soft tissue or for shielding, such as for concrete or lead material, or adipose tissue, in any material actually. Okay. So this is an example of photon trajectory by EGS5 code. Okay. I designed a concrete floor, put an iron floor here, lead block to attenuate photon. Okay. All right. So my for today's presentation, I just will deliver a basic introduction to for Monte Carlo. So for example, from this figure, so maybe how to say, the basic question should be think, for example, what is interact with photon and electron? Okay. Is it the whole atom, or just nucleus, or just electron? Okay. Such kind of question. Okay. So at first we have to understand photon interaction with material. Okay, so I believe all of us already know. For example, four type of photon interaction with metal, such as pair production, photoelectric effect, quantum scattering, Rayleigh scattering. In our field, for radiology, probably the first photoelectric effect and quantum scattering is related to our field. Okay, Rayleigh is less dominant for below than 15 or 13 keV something. In fact, 15 keV photon can be easily attenuated in air. Okay, while pair production can be occur only at higher energy. We said above 1000 keV or above 1 MeV. So I will explain simply explain this kind of photoelectric interaction. So the first one is photoelectric effect. So as you can see here, the basic idea is it is a phenomena that photon is absorbed by an atom, and orbit electron escape from an atom. So the rough, so this is the rough idea, as you can see from this figure. Okay? And as next, you have to see this figure. This figure showing the cross section on y-axis and photon energy on the x-axis. I'm not sure either you have already ever heard the word of cross section, but at first, cross section is simply understand by the probability to occur photoelectric effect as a function of photon energy. Okay, either either photoelectric effect highly significant at low energy or high energy. So in this kind of graph, I plot for oxygen, just for example, and lead for higher atomic number and low atomic number. Okay. So the shape of the graph is something like this. And you have should understand the graph is in log scale. Okay, log scale. So means that the difference is very significant. Okay, it's not a linear scale. Okay. So yeah, we have to know photoelectric effect proportional to Z the power of 4 or 5. Means that photoelectric effect is mainly occur to the higher Z atomic number material such as lead. Okay, and proportional to E the power of minus 3 or 4, something like that. Is the incident photon energy. Minus means that's decrease. Okay, so the probability to occur of for photoelectric effect decrease significantly as a function of energy. Okay, so we understand that the photoelectric effect is much how to say important for low energy, such as in our field for less than as a rule of thumb less than 100 keV, and less important for higher energy photon. Okay, all right. So the second type of photon interaction that you already know is quantum scattering. So I write that this kind of photon scattering is more dominant in diagnostic radiology. So it can be imagined like this figure. Okay, photon come interact with an atom. The photon will be scattered in some direction, some angle, while the electron also ejected from this atom. What we call is as a recoil electron. So in order to understand quantum scattering, at first we have to assume photon property as a particle. I believe everyone learned photon is a kind of waveform radiation, right? We have doesn't have how to say mass, for example. Okay, but you have to understand assume photon as a particle, because in quantum scattering involve the conservation of momentum and energy. I will not describe in detail about the equation for momentum and energy, but you can imagine as the how to say when you play billiard or snooker ball, right? That kind of thing. Okay, and we can calculate the energy of scattered photon by using this equation. Okay, so theta or angle can be any angle. 0 degrees mean that the scattered photon in forward direction, or even 180 degrees reflected or back scattered to the origin or to the origin direction of incident photon. Okay. So by learn or understand quantum scattering, we recognize that photon property as also can act as a particle. How about the probability to occur quantum scattering? As we know earlier, for photoelectric effect, significantly affected by Z number, while for quantum scattering, proportional to Z, without the power of any number lah. Okay, so it's different. Okay, so again, oxygen and lead. Okay. And how about the scattered photon energy? Just now we mentioned earlier. Sometimes we want to know the energy of scattered photon as a function of scattering angle. Okay, as I mentioned earlier, so if the incident energy, for example, 1 MeV, so the scattered photon energy will be also 1 MeV, which means the photon goes straight, okay, in straight direction, zero, without any angle. And 90 degrees, so the energy of scattered photon decrease. And at 180 degree, this dotted arrow means go back to backward direction, okay, toward the incident photon. Okay, so you can see here it regardless of the incident photon energy, either high, low, the scattered photon energy will be, the value will be somewhere here around 200 keV. Okay, 200 keV. How I calculate this sign and can be calculated from previous equation. Okay, so to calculate the energy of quantum scattered photon. So the equation is relatively a simple equation. We just want to know the incident photon energy, 1 MeV here, just put 1, and then the angle, either 0 degree or 90 degree or 100 degree, we can calculate easily the scattered photon energy. Okay, so finally we can obtain such graph. And yeah, pair production could be ignored actually because it's not, it will be not occur in our field in diagnostic radiology, but maybe just a simple brief okay, because we have friends also in radiotherapy, for example, they use up to 6 MeV or 20 MeV, for example. But I believe you already learned about the pair production. So pair production is occur when photon come to a nucleus and disappear, okay, because of okay, so nucleus have a electromagnetic field, okay, and electron and positron pair are created, okay, created. So this is a detailed physics, but you can imagine photon will be disappear and both particles are generated. So we call, sometimes we call electron positron pair production, or many times we just say pair production. Okay. So this kind of photon interaction within a material can only happen when the photon energy, the incident photon energy above 1000 keV or 1.022 MeV. Okay. And then in what happened next, both particles can be collide, strike each other, okay, berlanggar antara satu sama lain, okay, within some process. Okay, actually it has two process: annihilation at rest or annihilation in flight. Okay, okay. So when both of them collide each other, two gamma rays, we call it annihilation gamma rays, emitted in opposite direction, and the energy of annihilation gamma ray is fixed to 0.511 MeV or around 500 keV. Okay, and again this even this is disappear. Okay, photon disappear, but emitted another photon around 500 keV. So also need to be at least we know this situation, so we can pick question, for example. Okay, and this photon interaction important for high Z materials such as lead, and not so or less important for low Z material. Okay. Right. So this is the example of photon trajectory, again by using previous one, AGS5 code. And this is, for example, the yellow line is represent photons. In this case, just simply put 100 keV, and this is the material. I don't know. Okay, aluminium. Z element is number 13 with certain thickness, and this is the after the aluminium. Okay, so you can see some absorbed photon and transmitted photon, either unscattered or scattered photon. Okay, and also some reflected or photon with some angle. Okay, right, more than 90 degrees angle. So for example, within from this trajectory, I might interested to know the absorbed energy within this material, or we can obtain absorbed dose, or we interested the dose that pass through this material, or the photon energy that pass through from 100 keV, or we might also interested the reflected photon, either their energy or their dose. Okay, so we can obtain dose output and also photon energy at any region, either within, inside the material, or transmitted one, or reflected one. Okay, so if I this is another example. If I increase up to 5 MeV, just to show pair production. Okay, pair production. So this is an example. So I enlarge this part. You can see here at the right, now the okay, the red is electron and blue is positron. Okay, so we should understand the how to say, the direction of electron and positron is how to say, very random. Okay, not like a photon. Okay, and then again, and then annihilation occurs. Okay, annihilation gamma rays. So the energy will be 511 keV. Okay, this is aluminum slab. So we understand earlier the pair production mainly important for high Z material. Aluminum is, the Z number is 13, consider low Z element, but if we change to other high Z material, we can see more pair production within the material. Okay. And then finally, we may interested with the number of transmitted photon, which is passed through the material. Okay. So I believe we already learned about the attenuation of the intensity after penetrating a slab of thickness, the centimeter. Okay. Why? Okay. So attenuation is represented by this relationship. E is exponent minus, we call this symbol as mu, which is a symbol for attenuation. D is again the thickness of material, thickness of aluminum, or I don't know, soft tissue, for example, in centimeter. Okay. Exponent means the graph will be, the shape of the graph will be curved. All right. The shape of the graph will be in curving shape. Because of minus, so it decrease. If doesn't have a minus, curve will be increased, but the shape doesn't change curve, because of we have the letter E here for exponent, right? And attenuation calculated from previous Monte Carlo already included photoelectric effect, Rayleigh, Compton scattering, and pair production. Okay, so we can plot a graph. For example, a thickness. So this graph has two scale: thickness of aluminum and also number of transmitted photon, or I write here unscattered photon. Okay, so this is the number of photon that transmitted or passed through the aluminum. Okay, as we increase the thickness of aluminum, the number of photons will be decreased exponentially. And from this graph, we can obtain mu value that we want to know, attenuation. Okay. So for example, when we plot the graph, we can obtain this graph by using Microsoft Excel, and we should ask the Excel to show equation. Okay, we choose if we hopefully you know to obtain this equation from Microsoft Excel. So they will give so ESP is exponent minus mu x is or d is for thickness. So the value of attenuation is 0.22 for this material at this energy. If we change a different energy, the value will be different. Okay. So this is the comparison of interaction probability. So we just understand several type of photon interaction. So we have two graphs here for water and lead. I plot water because water can represent, how to say, our body, and lead is to represent high G element, commonly used as a shielding element. Okay. So the scale is same for y-axis. So then you can compare directly. Okay. For example, if you look for one line for photoelectric, represented by this small dotted line. Okay, this one, right? So this is for water. And how about lead? So this one. Okay. So you can see in photoelectric probability to occur in water less, how to say, the probability is very minimum, okay, compared to high G material. Okay. How about the quantum? Quantum will look similar, either high G or low G element, okay, because as we mentioned earlier, quantum scattering probability is proportional to Z, while for photoelectric proportional to Z, a power of 4 or 5. Okay. And pair production, okay. So pair production is a bit different. The probability to occur pair production keep increase as a function of photon energy. Okay. If the incident photon energy increase, the probability to occur pair production will be increased. Okay. So this is specific for pair production. Others type of photon interaction, such as photoelectric or quantum, will be decreased as a function of photon energy. Okay. So in last year, so we have developed a program. What we call is Simulate program. Simulate program is a Monte Carlo based simulation based on AGS5 code, the previous one that I mentioned earlier. And actually Adila Hanim is one of my current PhD student. So from this Simulate program, we can obtain this photon trajectories. Okay. So we create a friendly, user-friendly interface. So just need to include the thickness, select several type of material, particle type, either photon, electron, or positron that I mentioned earlier. If one interest, but we do not include neutron because EGS5 code doesn't have not capable to transport neutron. Okay, need to use another code. And particle energy in MeV, so we need to convert. If you think about 100 keV, you have to insert 0.1 MeV. Okay? And number of particle or photons, for example, 20 photons, which means you will obtain 20 yellow lines. Okay? And just simply click this one button, you can obtain the previous figure. Okay. developed this program because we understand sometimes students have a difficulty to use Monte Carlo simulation. When I try to introduce EJS5 code to my student, because Fortran, even they just need to change at certain part, but Fortran language is very sensitive to how to say error. For example, just you simply push a tab button or space button, you can the error will be obtained. Okay, so by using this interface, so student doesn't need to go to our main code atau or doesn't need to go to text editor. Okay. At this moment, 5 materials were prepared for water, PMMA as a phantom material, lead, concrete, and aluminum. Okay. So we prepare only 5 material, and probably if in the future we can include more compound or mixture such as bone or adipose tissue or breast tissue, brain, we can obtain the information from this website. Okay, National Institute of Standard and Technology. So this is the US regulatory agency. Okay, United States. So actually many more elements we can obtain from this website. It's very useful website. For example, here for bone, so this is the density, okay, 1.92 gram per centimeter cubic. And this is the element. 1 is hydrogen, 6 is, I don't know, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, something, okay. And this is the proportion. I believe the total will be 1. Okay. So example of the exercise can be used from basic Monte Carlo simulation, probably by seeing this figure. So we might want to know all photons are stopped in this material, or pass through, or reflected. I don't know. Okay. So and also we can understand what happened in aluminum plate. We already learned several types of photon interaction. So when we run Monte Carlo, we can observe a computer graphic. Okay. So for example, in the we also can use Monte Carlo to consider effective shielding material. Okay, in terms of material or in terms of thickness to shield a photon. Okay. And mainly we want to shield photon from outside, okay, to make sure, to ensure the public radiation protection, okay. Or we can consider reflector dose component. As you can see from this figure, we normally in radiation shielding we normally care about how many photon transmitted. We just want to allow a 5% or 10% transmitted, but sometimes we might need to evaluate contribution of reflected photon also in terms of its dose or energy, for example. Okay. So I show one of preliminary result from one of my PhD student. Okay, so this is the diagram photon trajectories of a brachytherapy room. Okay, from top view. Okay, so on left figure you can see this is the concrete wall. So this is the barrier. Entrance door is somewhere here. So when we enter the brachytherapy rooms, patient will be here. Okay, behind the barrier. Okay. And the patient will be introduced with a high energy gamma sources such as iridium 192 and cesium 137. their energy is around, for example, iridium is about 380 keV average, and cesium around 600 keV, or cobalt around 1000 keV. And we can see the red arrow here indicated the reflected photon due to the concrete wall, okay, towards the patient location. Okay, so we assume patient will be receive unnecessary dose, while the concrete thickness is very thick, really successfully attenuate from transmitted or passed through. So this is the example of animation. So control panel somewhere here. So the tip similar 60 centimeter. Okay. So this is the just to show photon trajectories. Okay. And by this figure showing the photon intensity or photon yield, we call it photon yield, the number of photon or the amount, okay, how many photons as a function of photon energy. Okay, again, we interested the number of transmitted and reflected photon. Reflected means that the transmitted means that the photon that passed through. Reflected means that the photon that reflected. Okay, at any position that we want to calculate. So just see the blue, how to say, blue cross here. Okay. Okay, so the cross mark here denoted the reflected photon spectra from concrete material for the previous incident of photon energy. Okay, so how we can reduce? We can reduce by seeing this square. We added, for example, just simply put 0.5 centimeter length at the wall, and we could decrease the intensity of photon, especially below 200 keV, significantly. Okay, while the transmitted photon doesn't have an effect lah. Okay, because we doesn't care about the transmitted is very low actually. Even we can see some transmitted photon. Again, this is in the log scale. So it's the difference between transmitted and reflected photon is significant. Okay. And you can see some maybe one thing why suddenly increase. So this is due to the K X-ray of lead material that we use. Okay, so we put lead here at this wall, and we can reduce the intensity of the reflected photon. But this is due to the emission of K X-ray of lead material. As we know, lead, the Z element is 82, have a characteristic X-ray around, I'm not sure, around 99 keV, for example. Okay, so we can see a peak here. The same things when we learn X-ray spectrum, because we use a tungsten as our tungsten material, also have some characteristic X-ray around 50 or 56 keV, somewhere here. Or if in mammography we use a molybdenum, you will also see kind of characteristic X-ray around 19 keV. Okay, so characteristic X-rays are always so if we want to care about this one, we have to think about how to reduce. But the most important, how do simulations relate to theory and experiment? Okay, so theory might be available for a model with no good physical realization. So theory, but without any good explanation, the physical phenomena. Okay, so simulation can explain. We can obtain from the simulation data to explain the theory. Second, if simulation disagree with experiment, a new model or theory is needed. And third, an important advantage of Monte Carlo simulation, different physical effect which are simultaneously present in real system may be isolated, can be separate, and can provide us better understanding. Okay. For example, I don't know, photon interaction, if we just want to consider photoelectric effect, or we don't want to consider quantum scattered photon, that kind of thing we can do. Okay. So it must be a relationship between, again, three things. Okay, between experiment, simulation, and theory. Okay. Because without theory or simulation, we have to believe 100% from the experiment. Okay, so if we mainly perform experiment, we have to carefully evaluate the error that might be arise from our experiment, either from analysis, experimental setup, or techniques, that kind of thing. So we can enhance the level of our experiment data. For example here, so this is my previous work. So this is the, I simply study plastic scintillator. So plastic is the material of plastic is very simple, only consists of carbon and hydrogen with some properties. Okay, almost the ratio of 1 carbon, 1 hydrogen, 10% higher hydrogen. So this is plastic. My intention of to study plastic scintillator is to study the plastic material as a dosimeter to represent adsorption dose of human body lah. Okay, because soft tissue also consists of both these elements. Okay, so this is a very simple study. We have some radiation and radiation. We have source and also radiation detector. Okay, so how we explain the output of our study is something like here. So in 1981, Birds explain about the properties of organic scintillator or plastic scintillator by using theoretical atoms. Okay, so in our publication, so we noticed that the theory that provided by Birds in 1981 still how to say applicable to explain the phenomena of radiation physics within the plastic scintillator. So sometimes it is interesting we not to forget the old reference. For example, this paper, our main reference is the very old paper in 1951. I understand maybe this is normally we say something, the references should be 5 years at least, not more than 5 years, but sometimes we can look at the old paper and study that paper. We can understand better for the radiation detector. Okay. So after almost 70 years, so the theory approached by Birds still applicable. Our intention to make a, how to say, to consider a special or more modification to this theory, to use a plastic scintillator in low energy up to high energy, but somehow it's still can be explained by Birds theory. So our study just support the Birds theory. So we cannot, otherwise we can such study we can publish in more higher quartile, for example. Okay, so this is the Q2 ISI Q2 paper. Okay. Another example is semiconductor detector. Again, the same thing, we model a radiation detector, we have source, okay? And also can be used to study shielding material, clay material or concrete. Okay, so study for clay for low energy, and can be study also for high energy, for example. All right. Okay, so this figure are very interesting. I actually when I went to this place in last year, Gunung Merapi, right, at Kaliurang. So I see there's how to a workshop or kind of factory that develop a concrete wall from this order, okay, Gunung Merapi, but I not allowed to take a sample from this place. So, but I interested because widely used in I think I suppose in this area to build a building, right, or maybe hospital, so we can learn something. Okay, so if someone there in Indonesia can obtain the sample, so we can learn something from this material, okay, by using Monte Carlo simulation. Okay, all right. Okay, so how about image? Okay, sorry, simulated image for noise or contrast. Actually, I was thinking this kind of direction. It is possible to understand the image quality by using Monte Carlo for at least in terms of image quality for noise or contrast. But at first we have to obtain the simulated image. I believe the formula is in this box. We have to accurate model of the imaging system, either CT scan or general, and then a realistic patient geometry. And finally, only by this formula, I suppose we can obtain the simulated image. So why I understand that image contrast or image noise is an interesting and important subject in radiation imaging. But at this moment, to be honest, I have no idea how to handle them by using AJS5 code. So I keep thinking this problem sometime, not all the time. Okay, maybe someone who knows better in computer programming can contact me. Right? Okay. And another question, is it possible to use Monte Carlo for detection of COVID-19 from chest X-ray, for example, or used to search the vaccine for the treatment? Okay. But I'm not see any papers yet, but we can see for COVID situation, we can see how to say, several research lab use AI, right? Such as Dr. Muhammad mentioned about artificial intelligence, okay, to search the vaccine for the treatment. Okay. So, and they use AI, for example, AI, you can, they use Google, right? Google, if you follow the news, Google DeepMind, if you go to the web page of DeepMind, it says Google web page, they predict about the structure of the protein structure of COVID-19 virus, because it is very, how to say, useful information. Okay, the protein structure is very useful information for the discovery of the vaccine. Okay, but if you go to the DeepMind web page, they also mention that the structure, the protein structure prediction have not been experimentally verified. Right? So maybe, so they are not how to say, certain about the accuracy of the structure that they are providing. I suppose that's the reason why until now we are very difficult, okay, to find the exact vaccine for COVID or coronavirus to fight against the coronavirus. Okay. So, but yeah, you can see in United States they use how to say plasma, right, from the cure patient convalescent plasma. It's also as a potential therapy for COVID-19. Okay. So this is about the estimate organ dose is Monte Carlo is one of good approach to calculate organ dose. Okay, but to obtain the image is I'm still thinking about that. So as a conclusion, the Monte Carlo method is commonly used for the following purposes, such as dose calculation, detector design, shielding, medical application, and it is a powerful tool to understand radiation interaction with matter in imaging, to calculate dose in various material accurately, to design new imaging receptor or design a new material for phantom, such as dose optimization of two patient, staff, to plan and design department essay room, optimizing cost and space. And its application in molecular physics is growing together. However, this does require a good understanding of computer programming and training. Computer programming is probably number 2, but training is number 1. Okay, it's because anyone can use this Monte Carlo simulation. Because as an example, 2% I put in calculation this statement. 2 person who are running an identical Monte Carlo code to solve the same problem, the obtained result might be different between each other. So we have to again train. And there have been extensive right now extensive effort to improve the shielding and dose assessment by using Monte Carlo, and the journey is remain on. Okay. So with that, I end of my presentation. So here is my email, sufyan@unisa.edu.my. So you can ask if want to know more detail about Monte Carlo, can email me. So and finally, I would like to ask a permission from UNISA to promote another conference that will be organized by our faculty with also in collaboration with several universities in Indonesia, such as also including Universitas Aisyah Yogyakarta. The conference, Global Health Sciences Conference 2030, will be planned in 12 December. So we are in the earlier stage of plan, but already approved by our management, university management. Okay. So we have a scope including the recent advances of research in medical imaging. Okay, so one can later find information from the website. Okay. So thank you very much. So with that, I end my presentation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Sufyan, for the amazing lecture, and for the participant who already has a question for Mr. Sufyan, you can drop your question in the chat room. Mr. Sufyan, could you please close your share screen?
Oh, pause. Okay. All right. Is it okay? Oh, stop share.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Nah, sebelumnya saya akan membacakan beberapa review tentang materi yang sudah disampaikan oleh Bapak Sufyan. Jadi dari materi yang sudah disampaikan, kita dapat mengetahui bahwa ternyata terdapat metode Monte Carlo yang merupakan sebuah perhitungan dengan menggunakan nomor acak, di mana kode dari Monte Carlo tersebut menggunakan subroutine program serta kemungkinan interaksi atau interaction probability untuk menghitung dosis. Jadi dengan Monte Carlo simulasi ini, kita tidak dapat menggantikan perhitungan eksperimental, tetapi simulasi Monte Carlo ini dapat menawarkan pemahaman yang unik dari fenomena fisika radiasi. Adapun simulasi Monte Carlo ini dapat kita gunakan untuk perhitungan dosis, untuk merencanakan desain detektor, radiation shielding, dan lain-lain. Dan dari yang sudah dipaparkan oleh Bapak Sufyan, kita dapat mengetahui bahwa ternyata metode Monte Carlo ini sekarang sedang berkembang dan banyak digunakan di ranah fisika radiasi. Jadi untuk mengetahui fenomena fisika radiasi, kita bisa mengetahui dari metode Monte Carlo tersebut. Oke, untuk penanya bisa menanyakan pertanyaannya melalui chat. Dan untuk berikutnya kita akan mempersilahkan untuk pembicara terakhir. Now we will move on to the last speaker, Ms. Alvita Rohmafulaini. Ms. Alvita is currently working as lecturer in Aisyah University of Yogyakarta. She is graduated from Gajah Mada University as a Master of Science. And now, Ms. Alvita would like to give her lecture about new approach on evaluating center of rotation in CT scan using the IC profile. Ms. Alvita?
Yeah, Ms. Sophie.
Okay, good morning, Ms. Alvita.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear your voice clearly.
Okay.
You might start your lecture right now, Ms. Alvita. Please, you can share your screen right now. Okay, we already see your screen, and now the time it's yours.
Okay, thank you. Wait a minute. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So actually my study background is also in physics. And today I'm going to talk about a new approach on evaluating center of rotation in CT scan using the IC profile. But to remember, this is still an early experiment, so CT scan that we use in this presentation is micro CT scan. Jadi pada dasarnya, pada presentasi ini yang akan dibahas adalah pendekatan untuk melakukan evaluasi center of rotation pada CT scan dengan menggunakan digital image correlation. This is the outline of this presentation. The first is introduction, and then overview about digital image correlation and center of mass. The third one is how to use digital image correlation. And the last one is conclusion. Let's start with introduction. Okay. So as we know, the computer tomography is a non-destructive testing technique or entity that uses X-rays or gamma rays. It can visualize the internal structure of the object based on the variation in density and the atomic composition of the object. And its ability for NDT made CT become an ideal technique for lab study, industry, medical diagnostic, metrology, even we can use CT for geoscience or in paleontology. This is the computer tomography principle. So basically, the CT system consists of an X-ray tube and then the detector unit, and then there is a rotating unit, the object, and also the data processing unit. So the basic principle in the micro-CT is like the principle of the radiography scanning, but because there is a rotating state, the object will be rotated in 360 degrees to scan all of the part of the object. This rotating stage will stop in each angle and scan the object. So there will be 360 radiographic image, or in this slide, it's called 2D projection or X-ray image. This 2D projection image and then will be reconstructed, will filter back projection to get the cross-sectional image. And this cross-sectional image can be glued together to become a reconstructed 3D volume image. But the problem is the appearance of a pattern they call artifact that may disrupt the quality of the reconstructed CT image. This artwork may be caused by the X-ray, such as beam hardening, scattering, non-uniformity beam, etc. Or artifact may also caused by the instrumentation, such as geometrical misalignment, Hill effect, noise, or etc. This artifact must be removed to yield correct image interpretation. Now, from all of these complex phenomena and consideration when developing a CT system, geometrical misalignment is the major cause of the artifact, especially incorrect center of rotation. And to know that there are incorrect center of rotation in the CT system, we can use the digital image correlation to detect it. So we will evaluating center of rotation with the new approach, which is digital image correlation. But to make sure that the DIC can be used to evaluate its center of rotation, we must justify it with the center of mass profile that commonly used for evaluating center of rotation. This is the overview of digital image correlation, or DIC. Digital image correlation measurement is based on tracking correlation function of a group of pixels which have a unique gray value from the test images and a reference images. In a simple word, DIC is compared to know the similarity of the gray value of two pictures. The equation of the digital image correlation is like this, and the value of correlation can be from -1 until +1. If the correlation value is -1, it means that both image in negative correlation. If the correlation value is 0, it means that there is no correlation between both image. And if the correlation value is 1, it means that both images have positive correlation, or they are same images. Okay, we must remember that if we scan the object, we will get 360 radiograph from angle 0 until angle 359. So this is the radiograph. And then to get the DIC measurement, we correlate the radiograph from angle 1 to radiograph at angle 0. And then we correlate the radiograph at angle 2 with angle 0, and so on until we correlate the radiograph at angle 359 until radiograph with radiograph at angle 0. So the question is why we correlated with angle 0. because we assume that the angle 0 on the right position that align with X-ray source and the detector. Now from this measurement, we have 360 DIC value. After that, we plot that 360 DIC value due to the number of the image. So in this slide, you can see the x-axis. This is the number of the image. And the y-axis, this is the value of the DIC. If there is no misalignment on the center of rotation, the value of DIC will always be 1. If the object that we scan have a cylindrical shape, because when we scan it from different angle, the radiograph will always the same. Okay, about digital image correlation, we move forward about the center of mass. Wait a minute. Center of mass is the unique average point of all mass in a system. So if we have radiograph like this, the center of mass will be located at X center and Y center. And this is the equation of X center and Y center. So if we scan a rod, then we have 360 radiograph image like that. Then we can know that there is no misalignment in the CT system if the center of mass of 360 radiograph is in the same number. This is the principle that we use to justify the result of the DIC. Okay, how to use the digital image correlation? First, we scan the object with micro CT scan. Remember, the object must be a cylindrical shape, so we use a rod with the size 95 pixel, 185 pixel, and 275 pixel. And then we calculate the DIC value, and then make the DIC profile to assess the state of the centroid of the CT scan. And the last one, the DIC profile is justified by measuring the center of mass profile of each radiograph. Okay, this is the scheme of the tools. There are X-ray generator, X-ray outlet, X-ray beam, X-ray sensor, CMOS camera, dark cavity, rotating stage, target object, main axis of object plane, main axis of sensor, main axis of X-ray beam, and digital control and system acquisition system. Okay, this is the object. So we use a rod. And then the result is 360 radiograph images from rod scanning with micro CT scan. And then the result of the IC measurement and the profile. And the last one is the result of center of mass measurement and the profile. Okay, this is the radiograph. So we have 360 radiograph for each object. This is some of it. This is from 63 until 104. And from this radiograph, we correlate with the radiograph from angle 0. And this is the result of the calculation of digital image correlation. In the left side and the right side is the result of measurement of the center of mass. And then we can make the profile from this data. This is the DIC profile. and the ideal DIC profile is on the right side. So, as you can see, the DIC profile from experiment different from the ideal DIC profile. It means that there is a center of rotation misalignment in the CT. And then for the center of mass profile, it's also different from the ideal center of mass profile. This is the ideal center of mass profile, and this is the result from the experiment. So if we compare the DIC profile with the center of mass profile, as you can see, even though the amplitude is different because we measure a different thing, but the profile has deviation in the same angle. It's around in 150 for center of mass, also in 150. It means that our system have center of rotation misalignment at certain angle. So from all of this data, we can conclude that the digital image correlation may be used to evaluate the center of rotation of CT system. Jadi, di sini dapat saya simpulkan bahwa digital image correlation ini merupakan suatu teknik yang digunakan untuk mengkorelasikan dua citra. Nah, ketika kita melakukan scanning dengan micro CT scan, maka kita akan mempunyai 360 citra proyeksi atau radiograf. Citra inilah yang dilakukan perhitungan digital image correlation. Jadi, citra dari sudut lain ini akan kita korelasikan dengan citra dari sudut 0. Kenapa dari sudut 0? Karena kita menganggap bahwa di sudut 0 itu adalah titik yang tepat, yaitu dia sejajar dengan sumber sinar X dan detektor. Nah, ketika center of rotation atau pusat rotasi pada CT scan itu tidak bergeser, atau pada posisi yang sejajar dengan sumber sinar X dan detektor, maka hasil radiograf dari silinder yang di-scan itu nanti akan selalu sama dari sudut mana saja. Oleh karena itu, ketika radiograf itu kita lakukan di IC, maka nilainya akan selalu 1. Nah, pada yang telah dilakukan, ternyata DIC yang dihasilkan itu tidak sama, tapi menunjukkan adanya suatu lembah. Nah, titik terendah dari DIC tersebut menunjukkan simpangan terjauh dari center of rotation. Nah, jadi pada intinya, ini adalah suatu digital image correlation ini merupakan suatu teknik yang dapat digunakan untuk melakukan quality control pada center of rotation di CT scan. Okay, thank you for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Alvita, for your amazing presentation. And now I will read some conclusion from Ms. Alvita. So Ms. Alvita said that DIC can be used to evaluate geometrical misalignment, especially in correct center of rotation. Jadi DIC sendiri dapat kita jadikan sebagai metode untuk mengevaluasi adanya pergeseran center of rotation yang akan berguna nantinya untuk mengimprove citra dari CT scan yang kita gunakan. Oke, selanjutnya akan kita lanjutkan dengan sesi tanya jawab. Jadi sudah ada beberapa pertanyaan yang ditujukan kepada Bapak Muhammad Abu Arah, kepada Bapak Sufyan, dan kepada Ibu Alvita. Yang pertama akan saya bacakan pertanyaan untuk Bapak Muhammad Abu Arah. Mr. Muhammad, can you hear my voice?
Yes.
So there are two questions that I think it is related. It's about, okay. The question is from Mr. Haryadi. And Mr. Haryadi asked, what is the role of radiographer on interventional radiology in robotic intervention? And yeah, you might give your answer right now.
Okay, I need to answer this question firstly. About the role of the technician, the role of technician is not just inside just to make the procedure. As in general, if we ask ourselves what is the role of the radiographer, there is many roles of radiographers. The robot cannot do it, such as set up the examination rooms. It cannot be done by the robots. How can we ensure all of the equipment inside the operational room done by radiographer, not by robot? Also take the patient history done by radiographer, not by robot. If we have the robot cannot take the radiation safety measures for the patients. Also, the radiographer has a task to position the patient on the exam table. Also, how can the robot explain the procedure for the patient? It's the task of the radiographer. And the radiographer have a task to assist the patient in dressing and have a task to overview the vital signs of the patient and intervene if there's any condition, if there's any urgent conditions or cases. That's the answer of the first question. The second question.
Yeah, I will read the second question. It is from Mr. Gatot Wibowo. He said, it was a great presentation, Mr. Muhammad, as you have stated that AE or AI or even the robotic technology might become some of the methods that assist the technologists to reduce the patient risk during the interventional radiology. In the robotic technology, could you give such an example that it is potentially replace the technology's roles, while it also improve image quality as well as reduce the radiation dose received by both patient and technology? Thank you, sir.
Okay, about the examples of the question, I can give two examples, such as robotic catheters. This catheter, we can use it or can use it as a precise steering. We can steer the catheter precisely and guide the wire during the endovascular procedure. That will improve the result of the image. That automatically means that image quality will be high. Another example is navigational robots that offer safe track and ability to move freely during the endovascular procedure. And if we use the navigational robots, of course, that means the radiation will be less for the medical staff. And we can say there is no need for the staff to be in the operational room unless there is an urgent case. That's it.
Okay, thank you for the answer. Jadi untuk pertanyaan pertama mengenai peran dari radiografer pada pemeriksaan intervensional radiologi ketika kita sudah memiliki alat robotik, yaitu tetap kita membutuhkan radiografer untuk menata peralatan atau mempersiapkan peralatan, serta untuk memposisikan pasien dan untuk mengatur kenyamanan pasien dan lain-lain. Serta radiografer juga masih kita butuhkan ketika terjadi keadaan darurat. Jadi untuk peran robotik sendiri tidak bisa 100% menggantikan radiografer.
Ya, karena itu dia jangan khawatir, dia bisa ketemu kerja nanti.
Iya. Jadi untuk pertanyaan kedua, untuk contoh dari pemeriksaan robotik yang bisa membantu radiografer, salah satunya yaitu robotik katheter steer yang bisa membantu guidance dari radiografer untuk menghasilkan hasil yang lebih baik serta image quality atau kualitas citra yang lebih baik. Kemudian ada juga contoh robot navigasi yang membantu prosedur pada interventional radiografi yang dapat mengurangi dosis yang diterima oleh radiografer. Kurang lebihnya seperti itu. Terima kasih kepada Mr. Muhammad untuk jawaban yang sudah diberikan. Kemudian akan kita lanjutkan kepada Mr. Sufyan. Mr. Sufyan, can you hear my voice?
Yes. I'm here.
Okay. So there is a question
Yeah.
from Mr. Gatot. He said that he would like to know more about the application EGS5 that Mr. Sufyan have already developed. Can it be used for calculating the thickness of additional filters in terms of radiodiagnostic X-ray tube, and which mostly employ the low energy level? Can we request to have the application program? Do we need to pay or something? Thank you, sir.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for the questions. And also thank you for the a bit of your interest towards EGS5. As I mentioned earlier, it is a free on open source. So I'm happily to share the EGS5 code. How and the answer for the question, for calculating the thickness of filter, right? To be employed in low energy, yes, it's possible because the energy range for EGS5 is started from 1 keV photon. So this code is possible to transport a low energy photon and can be used to calculate the thickness of additional filters. Any type of material. Okay. And about the program that you mentioned about the request of the program. So we already obtained the copyright for the program, and we now in the phase to obtain a patent before it can be commercialized. However, I was understand the patent process will take at minimum 3 years. So we started as I present start last September, September 2019. So it will be a long time to wait, right? But yes, I could give not the application, but the instruction how to use directly the EGS5 code. That will be better, I suppose, because the program also involve another party. So I cannot, before it can be commercialized, I cannot deliver, but I can share or teach how to use the source code that contribute to that application. And I can prepare a model or simple instruction to use the code. So yeah, that's all.
Oke, thank you for your answer. Jadi untuk pertanyaan Bapak Gatot mengenai apakah program yang sudah dijelaskan oleh Bapak Sufyan bisa diakses. Jadi untuk programnya sendiri masih diproses untuk copyright dan untuk komersilnya. Jadi membutuhkan waktu sekitar untuk 3 tahun. Untuk hal-hal lebih lanjut, mungkin Bapak Gatot bisa langsung menghubungi Bapak Sufyan, atau apabila ada peserta lain yang tertarik, apakah bisa mengakses atau bisa menghubungi Bapak Sufyan melalui email yang tadi sudah diberikan. Bapak Sufyan, bagaimana?
Yes, saya mengalu-alukan email, terutamanya daripada Inisa. I really willing to share EGS5 code.
Ya, baik, terima kasih Bapak Sufyan atas kesediaannya untuk membagi ilmu kepada kami semua. Oke, untuk sesi tanya jawab terakhir, pertanyaan ditujukan kepada Ibu Alvita. Ibu Alvita, apakah sudah bisa bergabung kembali?
Ya.
Oke, untuk pertanyaan yang ditujukan ke Bu Alvita dari Bapak Gatot, menanyakan apakah aplikasi simulasi berbasis pemrograman komputer yang telah Ibu ciptakan ada evidence base yang dapat menggambarkan hasil uji interkomparasi dengan uji gold standard. Begitu pertanyaannya.
Ya, terima kasih atas pertanyaannya. Jadi, digital image correlation ini masih merupakan uji pendahuluan, masih dalam tahap uji pendahuluan. Nah, biasanya kalau misalnya kita mau mengevaluasi misalignment, itu kan bisa menggunakan Fourier atau bisa menggunakan metode yang lain. Nah, untuk metode-metode yang lain itu sayangnya adalah menggunakan perhitungan yang cukup panjang sehingga prosesnya membutuhkan waktu yang lama. Nah, di IC ini dia itu kita memanfaatkan citra radiograf yang sudah ada. Nah, ternyata ketika dibandingkan dengan center of mass, jadi center of mass ini sudah biasa untuk digunakan untuk mengukur center of rotation juga, akan tetapi dia masih kurang sensitif. Jadi masih terdapat error. Sedangkan untuk di IC ini ketika dibandingkan hasilnya dengan center of mass, dia ternyata lebih teliti, seperti itu. Jadi mungkin nantinya akan dikembangkan lebih lanjut atau bisa dicoba menggunakan CT scan yang sesungguhnya gitu. Seperti itu. Terima kasih.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Alvita atas penjelasan yang sudah diberikan. Jadi untuk pertanyaan terakhir yang sudah dijawab oleh Bu Alvita menandai berakhirnya sesi tanya jawab dan pemaparan materi dari ketiga speaker. Sebelumnya saya mengucapkan terima kasih kepada ketiga pembicara, Mr. Muhammad Abu Arah, Mr. Sufyan, and Ms. Alvita untuk materi yang sudah dipaparkan dan untuk jawaban dari pertanyaan yang sangat memuaskan. Okay, and now it is the time for us to end the discussion session. Let's continue to the next session. Ms. Retno, the time is yours.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sophie. So before we finish this webinar, I would like to inform the participants to fill the link for an evaluation to this webinar. The link will be shared in the chat room of this Zoom. And I would like to ask permission to all participants to turn on the video so we can take the picture. Mohon izin kepada Bapak Ibu peserta webinar untuk mengaktifkan videonya untuk diambil dokumentasi. Kita akan mengambil 7 kali sesi foto. Let's prepare it. I will give a cue for the session photo. 1, 2, 3. Next. 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 1, 2, 3. And from the last, 1, 2, 3. Oh, sorry. 2 more. Okay, next. 1, 2, 3. And this is the last. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you for all participants. So finally, all the sessions are finished from the international webinar today. And thank you very much for all speakers for giving such information and interesting presentation. For Ms. Sophie as a moderator and also our participant for very active participation. Hopefully, this webinar will be beneficial for everybody. Amin. I am Retnowati as the master of the ceremony and also our committee of this program. Beg your pardon of the mistake we have made. And let's close this webinar with Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Thank you very much for your attention and see you at our next event. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Dengan berakhirnya webinar ini, maka perkenankan kami untuk menutup Zoom meeting. Terima kasih.
Ipalang mami.